Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another chapter in our ongoing Vertical Measures webinar series. Before we begin, I just would like everyone to know that the outside temperature for us right now is 115 degrees. So please send all of your good thoughts and vibes my way that my tires haven't melted to the asphalt. I would like to get home today. But enough about the oppressing heat. I would like to introduce myself as Zach Jones, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Vertical Measures. And I'm going to be emceeing today's webinar, which is titled, Are You Profiting from Content? How to Create Content That Generates ROI? And is hosted by SEMrush's own Ashley Ward. Ashley Ward is a corporate speaker for SEMrush, an all-in-one digital marketing tool. Her passion is focused on helping businesses and marketing professionals gain long-term ROI through teaching content and social media marketing. Speaking both internationally and throughout the US, Ashley regularly teaches workshops and speaks at conferences like PubCon, Brighton SEO, Search Love, Digital Summits, Retail Global, and SMS Sydney. Ashley has also co-authored a best-selling book, The Better Business Book V2, and is a contributing writer to industry blogs such as Search Engine Journal and Authority Labs. That is an impressive resume. Before you get tired of hearing me, I have a few things I need to say, quick notes. This morning, we introduced our revamped editorial content calendar. It features a content roadmap, an ideation, and a customizable calendar that you can schedule all your posts for the rest of the year. It's super valuable. It's free. So we recommend downloading that at vert.ms/calendar, vert.ms/calendar. It's a really great resource. Check it out. Another thing, our most asked question we get before, during, and after each webinar is, will there be a recording available? Yes, there will be. We send out an email tomorrow morning sometime with the recording and the slides, so you'll get all of it. And if you ever want to check out any of our previous webinars, go to verticalmeasures.com/webinars. And finally, if any questions pop up during the presentation, send them our way through the chat tab, and we'll do our best to get to them at the Q&A at the end. So before we jump into the presentation, I did have one quick question for Ashley that's kind of been on my mind. Are you there, Ashley?
Sure am.
So what is the deal with your Twitter name, Ashley Mad Hatter? Is that just some Alice in Wonderland fan, or what's the deal behind that?
So it's actually the name of the agency that I had for about 5.5 years, called Madhouse Matters.
Oh.
And it was stemmed from, it had many names until it finally formed into Madhouse Matters, marketing that matters to you. But it was inspired by Alice in Wonderland because digital marketing is very mad. And there are so many different aspects of it that bring everything to actual results into a whole. And so I loved incorporating the theme of the chaos and madness from Alice in Wonderland with digital marketing. So I made that my branding. And so branded my agency and myself with the Mad Hatter theme.
That's a way better answer than I expected. All right, that was good. Okay, well then I'm going to let you get into your presentation, and I will talk to you afterwards. Good luck, Ashley.
Awesome. Thank you. Sounds good. Well, hi, everybody. So I'm going to be talking about content ROI, because one of the biggest things is, sure, we can create lots of content, but can we actually measure it? So going into a little background even further, before I was with SEMrush, I owned a social media marketing agency that primarily produced content, did Facebook ads, and social media management. So I've been in the industry for 7-8 years now and have dabbled in almost all departments of it, but content really took my heart. And coming to ROI and content within digital marketing strategies, what's great is 88% of marketers are actually integrating content into their marketing strategy. So almost all of us realize the importance of content and that we need to produce content within our strategy. So that's fantastic. But where it gets bad is more than half of us, 57% of marketers, are actually struggling to measure their content marketing strategy. So we're producing content, but then we're not going back and measuring it, or we're going back and we're trying to measure it, but we don't know how. So let's go over the different aspects of measuring content marketing. So first, we're going to look at the importance of measuring. Then we're going to go into the different metrics that we should be measuring, the overall costs that are associated with producing content, how we can get a return on our content investment, and then some final takeaways. First, why should we measure content in the first place? I mean, why can't we just join that 57% of people? It's a large enough stat. Why can't we just blend in with that? Well, one really big reason to measure your content is to actually grow your business. So in 2018, Equinox launched Q, or in 2011, Equinox launched Q. Equinox is an online fitness brand. They quickly gained over 1 million monthly users, which 30 to 40% of them were existing Equinox members. And so they were able to gain 60 to 70% new members from this. So Equinox, they took note of the metrics. After launching Q, their blog, they realized, all right, we're gaining a ton of new members from this. We're getting 1 million monthly users from this section of content that we're creating. So let's grow the business, because clearly people want more content from us and they like the content that we're actually producing. And that's when they decided to create Furthermore. In January 2016, Equinox launched Furthermore, which is a standalone digital magazine, a completely separate product. It even has its own separate social media handles. So Equinox was able to grow their business drastically by creating a separate online digital platform. And both of them produce content that's relevant for the demographic, so they now have two different places to direct users and members for developing content. Another new reason to actually go back and measure your content is so that you know what content types you should create and which ones work, which ones don't. So REI, they call their blog the Expert Advice Learning Library, very technical, and they provide advice on anything and everything that has to do with REI members. So cycling, fitness, rock climbing, and surfboarding, anything outdoors, essentially. This section on their website was the highest rated section, with users engaging for an average of 5.5 minutes per article. That's a really, really long time. So REI clearly knew, all right, we know exactly what our demographic wants, and we're creating content for them. We're clearly hitting the mark here, because people are staying and actually digesting the content for a minimum of 5.5 minutes. They're scrolling up and down. They're not just reading a couple bullet points and bouncing. So then, because REI went and measured that and saw we're having people engage for an average of 5.5 minutes an article, let's see if we can do 6-minute videos. Because if we can keep people reading for 5.5 minutes, we should be able to create video content and have people watch for 6 minutes and do 30 seconds longer. So they did, and 73% of the 6-minute videos had 100% completion rate. That means someone watched it from beginning to end, which was huge. So because RA measured that, they then decided, all right, let's try another new content type. We've got the articles and the blog down, and we've got 6-minute videos down, because videos are working for us. So why not release a 30-minute film? The first one they released was called Paul's Boots. It gained over 1 million views on YouTube, and by now probably has almost 2 million. And so REI, because they went back and actually measured their content, they were able to see that, yes, blogs work, but let's try another new content type to see if we can get even more engagement. Did videos? It did work. Let's try another new type of content and see what kind of engagement worked. Films, that worked as well. But what really made both Equinox and REI successful is they had defined their goals beforehand. So REI wanted to increase the average time that people were spending with their content, whereas Equinox wanted to increase their product count and for their content. You need to figure out what goals you want to accomplish with first, so that when you go back to see if your content was successful or not, you actually know what you're measuring and what you're being able to benchmark to say, okay, this works, or hey, this didn't work at all. So some of the goals that you can look at when it comes to content is increasing website traffic, increasing blog traffic, any kind of engagement from your blog content, if you're decreasing your bounce rates, if you're generating any new leads. If you're getting any registration form fill outs, a lot of people will use content to drive people to a landing page and get them to register for, say, a webinar, an ebook download, an offline event. You can also use content to increase your brand exposure, which is like your brand mentions. If you're trying to become an authority figure within an industry with your brand or with your personal brand, if you want to increase your ranking, gain new backlinks, increase your customer loyalty by using user-generated content, or by simply educating your customers with your content. And you're measuring that by if, hey, when customers come to the sales process or when customers come in store, they're more educated about our products and they know how things work. So now let's look at the different metrics that you can actually measure when it comes to content. User behavior is probably the biggest metric. This is relevant to anyone and everyone, whether you're a small business or enterprise. And this, we're looking at the page views. So this is going to indicate the number of views per particular web page. This is going to give you a general idea of how good the performance of the content is by how many views it's getting. And then your unique visitors, so how many visitors your content attracts. You're basically looking at the size of your audience. How many pages per session? Are they watching that video on REI and then going to your product page and purchasing a product because of the video that they saw and they were able to see maybe the rock climbing shoes or a piece of equipment from that video? You need to be able to track what the user does after they digest your content. And then you have new and returning users. Is it the same people always coming back to your content, or are you getting new people? What's the average time on page? And we're going to touch into the average time on page a little bit more later. What's the page depth? So this is the average number of pagers that a user is visiting per session. What's the bounce rate? This is the percentage of users who left a particular page without visiting any other sites on the page. And usually they're going right back to Google and going to click on your competitor because you didn't give them what they want. And then the traffic sources. Is everyone coming from Google? Are they actually coming from search engines to go to your content? Or are they coming from things like a social media network, an email campaign that you just sent out? You need to know how people are getting to your content. Some of the different tools that you can use when it comes to measuring all of these different user behavior metrics. SEMrush reports is going to be a good one, especially coming from the agency side when you're trying to measure a lot of different clients or a lot of different brands to see overall what their content is doing. You can also get similar information inside of Google Analytics. And then as far as actual user behavior, the UX, you can use tools like Crazy 8 and Chartbeat to heat map and see how people are engaging with your content. And then there's the engagement metrics. So this is literally splitting up your social media metrics and your public relations metrics. So on social media, it's very to the point. How many likes, comments, and shares did your content generate when you're sharing it on social media? Are people sharing it with their friends? Are they liking it at all? Or is it just kind of sitting in social cyberspace? And then in terms of public relations, we're looking at PR. We're looking at our brand mentions. So are you getting more positive mentions online because of the content that you produce? Or are people maybe arguing with your point? Are they arguing with your topics? Are you getting negative kind of mentions? Or are you just not getting any kind of increase at all? You need to know if you're producing a piece of content or talking about a topic that generates you more online mentions than a topic that doesn't generate you any mentions, because obviously you're going to want to focus more on the topic and the content types that generate you the most mentions, whether good or bad. And then you have your incoming requests. So this is really awesome. This is when someone else in the industry that your brand is in or your clients are in comes and says, hey, loved the content that you produced, loved this white paper, loved this case study that you did. We're actually looking to do something similar. Would you want to partner together on a piece of content next quarter? Yes, you definitely want incoming requests to be happening based on the content that you're producing. You want to be recognized by other industry leaders and have other people and other companies in the industry want to partner with you, because then you're getting double engagement, you're getting double audience for a piece of content. And it's similar to republication. This is that same, say, brand or fellow company within the industry that says, hey, I loved that white paper that you did. Do you mind if I share it in my blog post? Or can I take a screenshot of part of your infographic and share it on social media? Yes, you want all of the incoming requests and republications to happen because they're increasing the amount of chances of eyes being drawn to your content, traffic going to your website, and ROI actually happening. So to measure your engagement, you're going to do tools like your social media platform analytics. So this is going into the back end of your Facebook, your Twitter, your Pinterest, your LinkedIn, and looking at your business analytics, looking at your business metrics, and measuring what posts are getting the most engagement, what kind of insights you can get, and see, are any of the high engagement posts coming from the content that you're sharing? And if so, what types of content? You can also use the SEMrush social media tracker to get this kind of information. And then as far as brand mentions, you can use the tool Mention, which is really amazing in terms of tracking all of the mentions that are happening about your brand or your client's company online. Then there's the SEO metrics. So obviously the content that we produce needs to help with our rankings in some way, shape, or form. We're not just posting content to entertain and inform. From a business standpoint, we need it to convert and help us get on page one if we're not already, and help us get into a higher position if we're not already in a top position. So this is looking at organic traffic. This is the number of visits that your website's going to receive from search engines. It shows you which your content has good potential for SEO, which content isn't helping your SEO at all. Then you also want to look at your dwell time metrics. So this is going to indicate the average length a time visitor spends on the page before returning to the search tab results. Then you're looking at backlinks. How many new backlinks is your content generating? You also want to triple check and make sure that you're generating good quality backlinks. You don't just want any backlinks, they need to be good quality backlinks. So you need to constantly be monitoring, okay, what types of content is giving me the best backlinks, and are any types of content that I'm generating, is it going to give me bad spammy backlinks? Like, is there a certain pattern here? And then your keyword ranking. So this indicates the current position of your web page in search tab results. So when we're putting certain keywords into content or creating content based on certain keyword terms, we want to know, because of the content that we produce with those keywords, is it improving rankings at all? Some tools that are going to help you find your SEO metrics are going to be Google Analytics again, Google Webmaster Tools. You can use the SEMrush on-page SEO tracker, SEMrush Domain Analytics, as well as Google Trends. Then there's the company revenue, the part that everyone forgets. This is did my content actually generate any dollars, or did it get me any closer to dollars? So here we're looking at, were there any existing leads touched by the content that I produced? Did I generate any new leads by the content that I produced? This is especially important if you're trying to get registration form fill outs, or if you do a video for REI that's leading to a product. Are you getting checkouts because of the video? What's your overall return on investment? What's your cost per acquisition? This is going to measure the cost to acquire one paying customer across your content marketing campaign. And then your conversion rate. So for the company revenue metrics, you can track the number of returning users in Google Analytics by setting up a goal. You can also check your CRM for new leads and existing leads to see how many new leads came over the time period that you generated new content. And then good old-fashioned math for your conversion rate. This is dividing the amount of conversions with the amount of clicks in order to get your conversion rate. Now, the metric that everyone really forgets about is the content production metric. This is how much time did it actually take for you to actually produce the content. So we're looking at how many employees did it take to produce the content, how long did it take to create it, to publish it, to edit it. This is all the way back from the first email when someone came up with the idea to create a piece of content, or when you're taking the time to figure out different topics to write about or doing all of the research. You need to keep track of how much time you are investing in producing content and which types of content are taking longer to produce. Are they producing better results, or are they producing worse results? Everything staying the same. You need to know, because time that you or your employees are investing in content does play into the overall part of the ROI. So that's a lot of metrics. That's a lot to go over every time you're creating new pieces of content and trying to see what the real ROI is. So here's some tips when you're actually analyzing your metrics. You really need to change things up for new results and A/B test everything. You don't want to throw out a piece of content just because it didn't hit your goal the first time. If REI went back and measured that article for 5.5 minutes, but they wanted 6 minutes, could it possibly have been that maybe that topic didn't hit, that maybe it was the type of content that they were producing? That's why they went to video to try for the 6 minutes. You can't necessarily give up on a piece of content just because it didn't hit your goal immediately. You need to test a couple different content types and different content topics within types to see what does your demographic like that. They may respond only to videos, whereas other demographics are going to respond best to email marketing campaigns with content. B2B marketers report sales lead quality is their number one most important metric for measuring content marketing success. They think that it's even more important than sales and conversion. So that's the quality of the lead that comes in from content is way more important than actually generating sales and conversion. But that's not true for everybody. B2C could be different. Some B2B companies could disagree with that. But that's just to prove that not all metrics are going to be the same for all content types. You need to take a quick second and think about what are some of the key metrics for blog posts. What do you think like the top 3 things when it comes to looking at your blog post and saying, yes, this was a success? What would you be looking at? The top 4 things that you should really be looking at when it comes to blog posts, and we're going to dive into this a little bit more and uncrack it, is time on page, the website traffic, where it's coming from, how many new users it generated, and what the bounce rate is. Now take a second and think about what the key metrics for measuring the success of a new podcast episode would be. It's completely different. With podcasts, we're looking at what's the listening length from a user, how many new subscribers did this episode generate us, and how many shares did this podcast get. Notice how completely different those metrics are. But does that mean if a blog post doesn't generate a lot of shares and a podcast did, that the blog post is terrible? No. Different pieces of content have different metrics that are associated with them and that are prioritized with them. So you need to keep that in mind when you're going through and measuring all of your content before you throw content types out, that you really need to take a step back and say, these metrics matter the most for these types of content pieces. Now, what I really want to get into is the WOW score. This is a metric that's really helping us unlock a lot, because when it comes to content, there's a few things that can stir up our metrics, which we'll get into next. But the WOW score is helping unlock the code. So what the WOW score does is it's for blog posts and article type web pages. And what it does is it rates this piece of content based on the active user's reading time and the scrolling speed. So it gives you a score from 0 to 100. It's just like going back to school, and if you get a 100, you did perfect, and if you did 20%, you did terrible. And it's grading your content based on how people are actually engaging with it. Search Engine Journal also uses something similar to this, and there's a lot of content producing companies that are looking at how they're measuring people's active engagement on a piece of content completely differently. And that's because certain metrics don't count as much as they used to. So at SEO Marsh, we went through and we took the 3 most important metrics that we found everyone thinks is the most important for content. And we wanted to dive a little bit deeper and see Are they really that accurate? And if they're not that accurate, what is it about them that is accurate and important? And we found that with shares, just because a blog post is shared doesn't mean it's actually read. So when it comes to text-type content, just because it's shared doesn't tell us that someone went back and actually read it all. Whereas with audio type of content, if it's shared, you can go back and actually see how long did people listen to it from the share. Then you have your time on page. When was the last time you opened up an article or you opened up an email and then noticed you're out of water and you get up and go get yourself a glass of water? Or it's lunchtime and you're hungry and you go run down the street and grab a piece of lunch or grab something to eat while your website's still up, while the time on page is still going. So time on page isn't necessarily an important metric, but the time that they're spent engaging on the page is. So there's tools out there, kind of like the WOW score, where we're looking at how fast are people scrolling through. If they're staying on there for 5.5 minutes, like REI, are they scrolling slowly and literally reading section by section? Or what kind of engagement are they doing on the page? Because 5.5 minutes can be fantastic when we have a WOW score of, say, 90 or 95, because we know that people aren't just leaving the tab open and running away. People are actually digesting this content. And then you have your page views. Page views really get skewed because of clickbait. Even though we all know we're not supposed to do clickbait, we're still writing clickbait headlines. And that's where we really need to compare the amount of page views with the actual time on page in order to truly care about these metrics. So now that we know what to measure, let's look at the cost associated with content. The first is time. It can take a lot of time to really create the content, then we have to edit the content, then we have to publish the content, then we have to measure the content. It's a lot of time associated, whether you go with freelance, whether you do it in-house, and then there's all the money that's associated with creating content. This is for in-house employees, this is paying an agency, if we're hiring freelancers to do it, and then the images that we need, if we need our design team to help build graphics for the content, if we need to do any advertising to promote it, it's a lot. So let's look at each of these costs, starting with in-house costs. So last year, towards the end of last year, looking at content marketing manager salaries, the average in the US was $73,000. You then add 401k, health insurance, benefits, bonuses, pay increases, HR department, payroll, everything that's associated with having that content marketing manager position. And then you need to look at the cost of in-house tools, because when you have an in-house content marketing team, you have to have tools for them to actually produce and monitor the content. So as far as content curation tools, we're looking at things like BuzzSumo, Contently, subscriptions to HubSpot, Curata, Hemingway, WriteWell, and Marketo. And then you have your social media sharing tools. So this is like the SEMrush social media poster, or you can use Hootsuite, Sprout Social, Buffer, Post Planner. And then the brand monitoring tools, because we need to make sure and know how many brand mentions are getting increased by the content that we produce. So it's like the Sumo Me, Brand24, BuzzSumo, Clout, and Mention. And then there's the website and analytics tools. This is Google Analytics, SimpleReach, Omniture, SEMrush, and Majestic. This is back to that user behavior metrics. So all these tools, I mean, these are a lot of different options, but we still need tool subscriptions in order to do in-house content. And lots of times you need multiple users, and it goes on and on. But you could go the agency route and hire, say, a content marketing agency to do it if you can't do it in-house. But then there's lots of costs associated with going with the content marketing agency route. So for a low-cost content marketing agency, you're looking at spending around $1,200 to $2,500 a month to help produce all of the content that you need. And it can go all the way up to $10,000 and up, depending upon the enterprise level of agency that you're working with, how many pieces of content that you need, how quickly, the projects. Say you have a 12-month contract versus a 6-month contract. All of this is going to really skew this range from the low to the high. So you could go the freelancer route. It's certainly the least expensive. This we're looking at maybe $35, $250 per content type to go through a freelancer, all the way up to $500 to $3,000 per content type, depending upon what your word count is, or if you're having someone create a video or an infographic, and how much experience the freelancer actually has. So there's quite a bit of range here. But what really comes into play with freelancers is your own time. So yes, it may look like the least expensive compared to in-house and agencies, but sometimes it isn't. When you throw in all of the time that it takes back and forth, communicating, generating the ideas, the management time, making sure it's coming in, then you have to edit everything, you have to resend it back, wait for it to come through. Sometimes it's better going in-house, or sometimes it's better going freelance. It really depends what's best based on your goals and what budgets you have allocated. But regardless of which route you go, you then have to advertise this content. Content marketers are spending an average of $500 to $5,000 plus a month to advertise content. This is the range from small business to enterprise companies. It's all over the place. All in all, we're spending so much money producing content that we don't even know is actually working or not, or if we can measure it. So let's look at how we can keep the content costs down. One of the biggest ways you can keep your content costs down is by repurposing your content. So every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, SEMrush does this SEMrush chat. We've been doing it for years now, and what it is essentially is we talk about anything and everything digital marketing, especially if there's a trending topic, Google just made a big update, something's happening in the industry, and we have a guest and we interview them, we open up questions, we invite everyone to answer, and we have this conversation on Twitter for an hour. After the Twitter chat's done, we then take a summary, we make a recap, and we turn it into a blog post. We have all of the questions laid out, and then we do screenshots of the different answers that people responded with. And then we kind of go into detail a little bit more about why we asked the question. Here's a little bit of background on it. To take it a step further, we can then make a video. We can ask some of the top contributing people for that week to say, hey, do you mind doing a 5 to 10 minute Google Hangout with us that we can make a video for? And then we're going to pull the audio, make a podcast using the audio from it, all from one piece of content that started with the Twitter chat. We're not generating 4 new topics, but we are generating 4 new content types from one original Twitter chat. A couple tips when it comes to reusing content. Please don't be afraid to update your old content. A lot of people, when it comes to reusing content, are afraid to make updates to existing content. Say, top 25 ways to keep cool in the summer in 2017. Well, now clearly that's outdated, so they need to change it and make it top 30 ways to do it in 2018. If that 2017 post is ranking so well and you're so afraid to touch it, run a little micro experiment. Make some edits, add some more content to it, change when the year is, change some of the headlines, see if it helps improve your rankings even more. Give it 2 weeks for Google to index it, and then after Google's gotten a chance to go through and you can start to see if it's helped your rankings even more, now that you have even more keywords to throw in, then you can leave it changed. If after 2 weeks it doesn't, you put it back to the old content type and your rankings remain the same and you're fine. But don't be afraid to at least experiment with reusing your old content, especially the content that works. And you also want to turn your text into video and audio. It's the same example with the SEMrush chat. You can easily, using your cell phone nowadays, you don't need a whole production team, which is so awesome. You can go live on Facebook, take a topic that you wrote about that people love, make a video about it, and then pull the audio from that video. And now you have audio that people can listen to either on a podcast, or you can embed audio inside of the blog post. and have maybe a quote from one of the people that you interviewed in the blog. You also want to put your content on Slideshare and Quora. If you can, make your content into Slideshare presentations and upload them on Slideshare. There's a huge reach. There's a very large demographic. If you can target any of your demographic on LinkedIn, you can reach them on Slideshare as well. Put your educational content on Slideshare because people are looking for it. And same with Quora. It's a great place to go because people are asking questions. They need specific information. It's the same types of questions that they're asking in Google, that they feel more comfortable getting information inside of Quora by people. So go and see what people are asking, create content for it, pull some of the content that you have, and share it inside of the forums of Quora and let it be an informational resource. You can also turn your old blog posts into ebooks. So I'm sure you all have your blog posts categorized into strategies, tips, food recipes, restaurants, whatever your themes are, you have multiple categories. Export one of those categories, take all those blog posts, get a graphic designer to create a cover for you, a table of contents, and put all of those blog posts as little mini chapters inside of your ebook. You don't have to recreate brand new content for this. Utilize what you already have. That way you can keep your costs down so low. You can hire someone very inexpensive to help you with this on the graphic design side of things. But it's not going to cost you anything to produce any new content because you're utilizing the content you already have. Another way to help keep your content costs down, especially when we're looking at ROI, is to focus on quality and not quantity when it comes to content. So one of the questions that we asked last May in our chat is it better to publish new content regularly or release one evergreen piece quarterly? And why? We get asked this question all the time because it's hard because we feel like more is better when it comes to online, but it's not. We really need to focus on quality over quantity because when it comes to our users, we don't have time to read every single piece of new content that you publish. But what we do want to read is a good piece of content that you publish, the good video that will keep me there for 6 minutes, or the good film that you just produced that's going to keep me there for a full 30 minutes engaged. And another person had commented on how quarterly is just too infrequent for most niches, but don't kill quality just to get out a post a day. Don't produce content just to do it off of the check mark. That's also when you're going to stop checking the ROI because you're going through your to-do list and just producing content to produce content. You need to produce content that gets you closer to your goals and helps you get closer to ROI. And that's going to come from quality and not quantity. You also want to invite user-generated content. Let your users, let your fans, let your customers create content for you. I can guarantee you they're already doing it. You just need to go find it, reach out to them, and ask if you can share it on your channel. And that's because 76% of individuals surveyed said that they trust content that's shared by average people. This is the you and the me, more than by brands. When Red Bull shares something, it's awesome. We totally want to see it. But do we think that their drink tastes better because of it? No. We think their drink tastes better when our friend posts about their brand new flavor and how delicious it is, not when Red Bull tells us about it in a mountain bike commercial. So how can you profit from content in 2018? You really want to match your content with your goal. There's all sorts of content that is going to help you get to specific goals faster. So this is for website traffic. If you want to increase the amount of traffic that's going to your website, you're looking at creating more blog posts, social media posts that's linking, email newsletters that's linking, infographics with links, videos with links. If you want to increase your rankings, this is guest posting on other people's websites. This is blog posts. This is infographics that other people are going to want to link to and share. Just creating videos on YouTube that are optimized and have keywords. Notice how not every single piece of content works for every single piece of goal, but specific content types are going to help you get to specific goals faster. You also want to A/B test your verticals and your content types. 76% of B2B marketers blog, and 73% publish case studies. But does that mean you have to publish a case study or you have to always do blogs? No, you need to A/B test what your demographic likes best. ROI can go and make a 30-minute film, but can the pizza restaurant down the street, the mom and pop shop, make a 30-minute film and have everyone engage with it? Probably not. They could do a 1 to 2 minute video then. Test different content types and see what's going to work best for you. Give yourself a good quarter to actually test what content you should be putting your energy toward. And then you want to track your metrics over time. You want to see within the first couple weeks, okay, did my content receive any backlinks? What kind of engagement am I getting? What kind of conversions am I getting? Then go back to it a month later. Go back to it 6 months later. Sometimes it can take content a really long time to hit the ground running, but you need to keep track of that over time and see even your content from a couple of years ago. What's spiking? What topics are coming up to play now? Because that's going to tell you what your demographic wants and is actually looking for. You also really need to make your content mobile friendly. Mobile devices are projected to reach 79% of global internet use by the end of 2018. That's huge. That's almost 100% of mobile devices. That's insane. And nearly 8 in 10 customers are going to stop engaging with content that doesn't display well on their device. So you have an opportunity to miss everybody if you don't create content that displays well on mobile. So how can you make it display well? The basics are text size, images, and load speed. The text size needs to be large, but it can't be too large to where I have to scroll all the way over or keep scrolling down 4 or 5 times just to read 3 sentences. Know your demographic, and if your demographic prefers large font size, give them large font size. If your demographic prefers the medium font size, give them medium font size and test what they prefer and what's getting the better and longer engagement. For your images and videos, compress them. Look at what the file sizes is. That's what's taking up your load speed so often. In your load speed, you really need to aim for a load speed of less than 2 seconds. I wanted to take this a step further though, because I've heard before about making content mobile friendly, that it's other than those 3 steps, what can you really do? And so I did an experiment on SEMrush and I looked at BuzzFeed's keyword positions for desktop. And the first 5 keywords that came up was BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed quizzes, okay, branded terms, and then quiz, that makes sense, that's what they're most known for, air fryer, and then food, because they're doing a lot of recipes now. Like, okay, this makes sense. This is what people are searching for and going to BuzzFeed for on their desktop. But then when you look at what they're doing on mobile you have the branded term, BuzzFeed again, but then you have Nicki Minaj, a celebrity, quizzes, Yo Mama jokes, and would you rather. Notice how the last 3 are all action items. A Yo Mama joke, someone's literally searching for this on their phone, and most likely they're in an environment where they're trying to tell the Yo Mama joke, they're looking at a would you rather, they're trying to bring up a quiz to do in front of their friends, to do in front of their family, to do in front of their coworkers. They're looking for content that's going to give them a fast answer that they can do at that moment and get and basically digest it right away. So when you're thinking about creating content for mobile versus desktop, think about how you're relaying that information in your content for mobile users. Are you giving it to them fast enough? And some final content tips. Set goals. You really need to set goals for the content that you create so you can track your results. Learn from any mistakes so that you can be better. Measure your results and document them so that you can learn what's happening over time. Iterate and improve. And finally, keep on. Never give up. It's especially true with content. You're unlikely to strike gold every time, so learn from your mistakes and keep improving, because your metrics are going to change. New content types are always going to come out, but you need to keep trying. You will eventually find what works best for you, and then you'll see the ROI coming in left and right. If you'd like a copy of these slides, they are on Slideshare. You could also email me, ashley.ward@fcmrush.com. You can keep in touch with me on Twitter at AshleyMadHatter and my LinkedIn as well.
Thank you, Ashley. That was really great. It was really great because last month we had the value of content marketing basically from our CEO Arnie, and this was such a great transition to the next month to like this is how you get the most out of your content. So it's a really great transition month to month for us. So we're gonna do some Q&A now. The first one we got is from Jessica Barrera, and she asked, "How do you track scroll speed? What tool do you use?"
So I use the WOW score to track scroll speed. The WOW score is going to give you basically the top 3 metrics, and it's going to allow you to digest the information on the time on page as well as scroll speed.
Okay, so this one's a little bit more of a complicated question, a pretty specific one, but it's from Marianne, and she asked, how can a B2B company, which is highly technical, create content when you have scientists who are too busy to help with white papers and blog posts?
So don't be afraid of being too technical. That's my first piece of advice. Second, do video, because reading technical jargon is just hard to process. Even scientists who love the technical aspect of it, videos are going to be a lot more engaging, and you're going to have a lot bigger of an audience who actually watches it. In terms of getting the information on and preparing the video, if you can't get it from your scientist, you need to look up and see. There's so many tools out there, especially inside of SEMrush, on what you can do to see what your competitors are producing, as well as what kind of questions your demographic is answering. Figure out what the who, what, when, where, why, how questions are that your demographic asks about your specific subject or your specific industry, and create videos based on that.
Okay, that's actually a really good answer. I think obviously reading technical stuff is just a bore, so videos are a great option. Okay, so the next question is from Sarah Vaughn, and she asked, how would you explain the value of content and SEO to a client who does not see the immediate ROI?
I would look at the top 3 metrics and basically showcase how much traffic it is going to generate to the website. I would also look at producing content that is product related and product driven. And so then you'd be able to directly measure, because of the videos that I produced, or because of the blog posts or the interviews or the case studies that I produced, it led people to go from this page of the content over to the product page, and then they eventually checked out.
Okay, keeping in the same vein as metrics, Sharon Tom asked, what metrics do you feel are key for video engagement?
For video engagement, the most important to me is how long they're watching that video. So are they cutting out at a certain time? Is there a pattern? Is everybody leaving within the first 5 to 10 seconds? Because if so, the topic that you made the video about isn't what they want to actually watch. Are they sticking for that whole 6 minutes like they are for REI? Because if so, you're hitting the mark, you're doing it correctly. And then checking from the video, where are they going after the video? Are you getting traffic coming from YouTube or wherever you're hosting your video?
Okay, let's go. We got 2 more. Let's get these out of the way. All right, this one's from Sarah Kleba, and she asked, should we look to content as more of an awareness and or brand affinity play? How much is relationship building versus direct sales? How much is it?
That's a good question. The 2 biggest things that you're doing when it comes to content is you're informing and you're entertaining. So what you need to ask yourself and your brand is, what is more important for your customers and for your potential customers? Would they rather be informed about your product or your service, or would they rather be entertained by your product and your service? And whatever the answer is, that's the kind of content that you need to produce, whether it be more informational content that explains more about your business, more about the industry. So like a plumbing business, the top 10 reasons you need to check your drains, or 5 ways to clean out your garbage disposal, all informational type of topics versus entertainment type of topics.
Okay, we actually got a late edition question from Chris Diaz, and he asked, what tips do you have for finding the right keywords for your content title?
For your content title, it's literally going in and searching exact terminology of what people are searching for, and then putting that as your title. So if there's a clear pattern that everyone's searching for this exact term, put it in your title. Your title does not have to be this fancy Shakespeare written title. It needs to be a title that people want to click on because it's going to give them the answer or the entertainment that they're looking for. So in terms of tools at SEMrush, we have a ton of them that are going to help you get there.
Okay, so we're just getting all these last minute questions. I think this will be our last one, and this one's from Becca Allen, and it's a good question. What is your opinion on influencers promoting content as compared to businesses promoting it themselves?
I love it when influencers promote content because they're generally going to have a bigger reach than a business will, and they'll have much better engagement. The only thing is you need to be able to actually have a relationship with the influencers who promote your content. So that way you can give them guidelines like, hey, if you ever need photos from us that are good, high quality photos, or let me send you a couple of our new products so you have the latest if you would like to promote it. Have a good relationship with them so you can constantly, in a positive way, improve the content and make sure it's aligning with your brand versus just theirs.
Okay, well, and obviously you helped influence this blog post by getting all of our registrants, so we thank you, and that is all the time we have for questions today. So thank you, Ashley. I know you're a busy person, so I really thank you for taking some time out to do this webinar. Next month's webinar will be on August 23rd with our very own Billy Adams, and he'll be presenting link building ROI, how we grow businesses by learning from failures. Registration will be up just a week or two. Check our newsletter at the beginning of next month, and just follow us on social, and we'll promote it there as well. Our Twitter handle as @verticalmeasure with no S. Follow us there for up-to-date information, like I said, for our webinars, blog posts, our new ebooks, or any new service we have. And we also feature a lot of dogs because we have office dogs, and that's great. So until next time, I'm Zach, and from all of us at Vertical Measures, thanks for attending and have a great day. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.